I need to see proof of legal residency.
I'm a police sergeant. I live here.
Sir, step away from the vehicle.
You're making the biggest mistake of your career.
Every ICE agent in the country had studied Marcus Reynolds' training videos on constitutional policing. His voice explained the Fourth Amendment in plain language. His face appeared in academy classrooms, federal briefings, and internal seminars on how to lawfully stop, question, and detain civilians. The irony is brutal because on this Saturday morning, one ICE agent was about to violate every guideline Reynolds himself had written. Right now. It's Saturday, March 14th, 10:30 a.m. Inside the underground parking garage of the Meridian Apartments. A quiet, upscale complex where nothing ever happens. Agent Brandon Vickers believed his badge gave him the authority to demand immigration papers from any black man who didn't look like he belonged there. He believed suspicion was enough. He believed compliance was mandatory. And he believed no one would challenge him. Before we go any further, pause for a second. Where are you watching from? Drop your country or state in the comments. And if you believe American citizens should not be stopped, questioned, or detained without lawful cause, hit that subscribe button right now, because everything that happens next was recorded, reviewed, and ultimately used to end a federal career. Vickers' body camera was already running. 8 high-definition security cameras covered the garage from every angle. Residents' phones would soon be recording too. What started as a routine patrol became a constitutional violation, a public reckoning, and a case study now cited in congressional hearings. This is the story of what happens when power meets prejudice, when a badge is mistaken for immunity, and when a man who literally taught the law becomes its target. Marcus Reynolds had no idea any of that was about to happen. Adzecha doazet shi doi m. He was doing something painfully ordinary, washing his car in parking space B47. A silver Honda Accord he'd owned for years. Nothing flashy, nothing suspicious. Just a man taking care of his car on a Saturday morning. Reynolds had lived at the Meridian Apartments for 3 years. Rent paid on time. Every month. No noise complaints. No incidents. His neighbors knew him as quiet, polite, the guy who held doors open and nodded hello in the elevator. This garage wasn't unfamiliar territory. It was home. His daughters, Emma and Sophie, were at swim practice 2 miles away. Emma was 8. Sophie was 11. He'd promised to pick them up at 11 o'clock sharp. He always did. There was no rush. No stress. Plenty of time. Reynolds had earbuds in. Music playing softly, one of those long playlists meant to disappear into the background. A bucket of soapy water sat beside him. The hose looped across the concrete floor. The echo of water hitting metal blended with the quiet hum of the garage. 8 security cameras watched silently from the ceiling. High definition. Wide angle. Every movement recorded. But Reynolds didn't think about cameras. He wasn't thinking about law enforcement. He wasn't thinking about race. He wasn't thinking about rights. He was thinking about his daughters. About lunch afterward. About nothing at all. And that's what makes what happened next impossible to justify. Just a few blocks away, ICE agent Brandon Vickers was finishing a routine patrol when dispatch cut in over the radio. An anonymous tip had come through. The kind that comes in every day. The kind with no name attached and no accountability. The report was vague. A Latino male, possibly using fraudulent documents, somewhere near the Meridian Apartments. No apartment number. No vehicle description. No criminal activity observed. No witness to a crime. Just a suspicion. Just a feeling. Just race. That should have been the end of it. By policy and by law. It wasn't enough to stop anyone. But Vickers didn't ask follow-up questions. He didn't request clarification. He didn't look for corroboration. He turned his vehicle toward the Meridian. As he pulled into the underground garage, Vickers slowly scanned the rows of parked cars. Families' vehicles. Residents' vehicles. Nothing out of place. Then he saw Marcus Reynolds, a black man, alone, washing a car. The tip said Latino. Reynolds wasn't Latino. But in that moment, the detail didn't matter. What mattered was that Vickers saw someone who didn't match his idea of who belonged in a building like this. Brown skin in a quiet, expensive neighborhood. That was close enough. Training vanished. Protocol disappeared. Reasonable suspicion was replaced by assumption. Vickers made his decision in seconds. He pulled his vehicle in behind Reynolds. And in that moment, before a word was spoken, before a question was asked, the encounter was already unconstitutional. Vickers parked directly behind Reynolds' Honda, close enough to box him in. He stepped out of his vehicle slowly, one hand already resting on his service weapon. Not drawn. Not yet. But the message was clear. Reynolds heard footsteps over the sound of running water. He turned off the hose, straightened up, and removed one earbud. He saw the uniform and offered what he'd offered 1,000 officers before a calm, neutral greeting. Morning. Officer, everything okay? Vickers didn't answer. He didn't identify himself. He didn't explain why he was there. He skipped every professional courtesy Reynolds had taught in training rooms across the country. I need proof of legal residency. The words landed heavy in the quiet garage. Reynolds didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. 16 years of law enforcement had taught him that tone matters. Escalation invite danger. I live here, he said evenly. This is my car. I'm just washing it. Vickers stepped closer. I need documentation. No explanation. No allegation. No crime stated. Just a demand. Reynolds felt the shift immediately. This wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an assumption being enforced. And still, he remained calm. Because he knew the law. And he knew that how he responded in the next few seconds would determine how far this would go. What he didn't know yet was that the decision had already been made for him. Reynolds nodded once, then moved slowly, deliberately. No sudden motions. Hands visible. He walked to the driver's side of his car, opened the door, and retrieved exactly what any reasonable officer would ask for: his vehicle registration and his lease agreement. Both documents were clean. Both were current. His full name printed clearly. The address matched the garage they were standing in. He handed them to Vickers. Vickers glanced down for maybe 5 seconds, not reading, just confirming that the paperwork didn't match the story he'd already decided on. He handed them back. That's not what I asked for, Vickers said. I need proof you're legally in this country. 8 cameras watched from above. High definition. Silent. Unblinking. Reynolds took a slow breath. He'd explained this exact scenario to recruits more times than he could count. Officer, he said calmly, under the Fourth Amendment, you need reasonable suspicion of a crime to detain me. What crime do you suspect me of committing? Vickers didn't answer. Instead, he reached for his radio. Dispatch. I have a subject refusing to cooperate, requesting additional unit at the Meridian Apartments. Reynolds hadn't refused anything. He'd complied with every lawful request. But Vickers was doing something else, now building a narrative, turning cooperation into defiance, turning silence into suspicion. And once that narrative started, the truth no longer mattered. The sound of the radio carried farther than Vickers expected. It echoed through the concrete garage and caught the attention of the security desk near the elevator bank. Within seconds, the garage security guard started walking toward them. James Morrison was 62 years old. Gray hair. Calm posture. A retired Oakland Police Department officer with 28 years on the job. He'd seen real criminals. He'd seen real threats. And he knew immediately this wasn't one of them. "Agent," Morrison said evenly, stopping a few feet away. "I know this gentleman. That's Sergeant Reynolds. He lives here. Unit 804. Been here 3 years. No issues." Vickers turned sharply. "Sir, I'm conducting a federal investigation. Step back." Morrison didn't move. "I'm telling you he's a resident. And he's a police sergeant. You can verify that with San Francisco PD." Vickers' jaw tightened. "I'll verify what I need to verify." The words weren't about procedure. They were about control. Reynolds watched the exchange. Heart rate steady. Mind alert. This was the moment when a reasonable officer would reassess. De-escalate. Maybe even apologize. Instead, Vickers doubled down. Because backing off now would mean admitting the stop was never justified in the first place. Reynolds knew this was no longer about misunderstanding. It was about denial. He reached slowly into his pocket. Movements deliberate. Palms visible the entire time. He pulled out his wallet and slid a single item free. A badge. San Francisco Police Department. Badge number clear. The metal caught the fluorescent light of the garage as he held it at chest level. "I'm Sergeant Marcus Reynolds," he said calmly. 16 years with SFPD. Special Victims Unit. You can call my watch commander right now. Vickers looked at the badge. Then at Reynolds. Then back at the badge. "Badges are easy to buy online," he said. That's when the air changed. A car slowed near the ramp. 2 residents stopped walking. Phones came out. Someone started recording. Another person lifted their device higher and went live. Reynolds turned slightly toward the growing crowd. His voice steady. Controlled. Professional. "For everyone watching," he said, "ICE has authority over immigration enforcement. They do not have authority to detain you. Citizens without reasonable suspicion of an immigration violation. I've provided my registration, my lease, and my police credentials." Vickers' face tightened. "Stop talking and cooperate." "I am cooperating," Reynolds replied. "I've complied with every lawful request." The crowd grew. Cameras rolled. And in that moment, Vickers lost the one thing he needed to maintain control. The narrative? That's when Reynolds' phone lit up in his pocket. The vibration was soft, almost easy to miss, but he felt it immediately. He glanced down. 8 years old. He looked back at Vickers. "That's my daughter. She's at swim practice. I'm supposed to pick her up in 5 minutes. I need to answer that." Vickers didn't hesitate. "You're not answering any phone." "She's 8, Reynolds said. His voice didn't rise, but something in it changed. "She's waiting for me." "You should have thought of that before you refused to cooperate." Reynolds felt something crack, not anger, not panic, but clarity. This had never been about documents. It was about power. About an agent who saw a black man and decided the law didn't apply. He stayed steady. "A gent. I have not refused to cooperate. I have constitutional rights. So does every person in this country, regardless of race." Vickers shifted his stance. His hand moved to his holster, not drawing, just resting there. A silent message. "Place your hands on the vehicle." The garage went quiet. Even the phone seemed to pause. The phone buzzed again. Emma. Then it stopped. A text appeared. Daddy. Where are you? Reynolds closed his eyes for 1 second. Long enough to breathe. Long enough to remind himself that everything, every word, every movement was being recorded. And that this moment would matter. An ICE vehicle rolled into the garage and stopped near the entrance. A woman stepped out. Eyes already scanning the scene before her feet even hit the ground. Agent Sarah Chen. 34 years old. 6 years with ICE. Known among her peers as methodical and by the book. She took in everything at once, the crowd. The phone's recording. Reynolds standing still beside his car. Vickers' posture. His hand near his weapon. Brandon. She said calmly. What's going on? The subject is refusing to provide proof of legal residency. Vickers replied. Chen walked closer and picked up the lease agreement Reynolds still held. She read it. Slowly. Carefully. Then looked at the registration. Name matched. Address matched. Brandon. He has a valid lease and vehicle registration. What's the issue? I need to verify everything. He's a police sergeant. Chen said. The security guard confirmed it. What reasonable suspicion do you have? Vickers didn't answer her. He turned away. Chen frowned. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't procedure. This was ego. She pulled out her phone. Dispatch. This is Agent Chen. Badge 4729. I need verification on Marcus Reynolds. Claims to be an SFPD sergeant. 15 seconds passed. No one spoke. Then dispatch came back. Confirmed. Sergeant Marcus Reynolds. San Francisco Police Department. Special Victims Unit. 17 years of service. Medal of Valor recipient. Chen looked at Vickers. Brandon. He's exactly who he says he is. Vickers stared straight ahead. And yet, Chen added quietly, You're still detaining him. Vickers' jaw tightened. This is my stop, he said. I'll handle it. Chen didn't step back. Dispatch just confirmed his identity. There's no legal basis to continue this. Vickers ignored her and turned to Reynolds. Place your hands on the vehicle. Reynolds knew what that meant. He also knew this moment would define everything that followed. Slowly. Deliberately. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He opened the voice recorder and held it up so every camera could see. For the record, he said clearly, I am Sergeant Marcus Reynolds. San Francisco Police Department. Today is Saturday, March 14th, 10:58 a.m. I am being detained by ICE agent Brandon Vickers without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Vickers snapped. You can't record this. Yes, I can. Reynolds replied calmly. You're a federal agent performing official duties in a public space. I have every right to document this encounter. Residents stepped closer. 2 phones rose higher. A woman in her 40s started a Facebook Live. Reynolds continued. Speaking toward the cameras. Agent Vickers is demanding to search my vehicle without a warrant. He has refused to accept my lease, my registration, and my police credentials. The live viewer count climbed. Dozens. Then hundreds. Vickers pulled out his phone. ICE agent Vickers requesting contact with SFPD Watch Commander. Special Victims Unit. The call connected. A firm voice answered. Lieutenant Kesha Washington. Watch Commander. Who am I speaking to? Vickers swallowed. ICE agent Brandon Vickers. Why are you detaining my sergeant? Silence. The kind that ends careers. Agent Vickers. Lieutenant Washington said. Her voice controlled but sharp. I'm asking you a direct question. What are you doing with Sergeant Reynolds? Vickers hesitated. I'm conducting an investigation. What kind of investigation requires detaining one of my officers? I received a tip about suspicious activity. What suspicious activity? She pressed. What crime? Vickers had no answer that didn't expose the truth. Agent Vickers. Washington said, I am ordering you to release Sergeant Reynolds immediately. With respect. Ma'am. Vickers replied, You don't have authority over ICE operations. I have authority over my officer's safety. She shot back. Release him now. Reynolds' phone vibrated again. Emma. Then Sophie. The calls rang out into silence. James Morrison returned from the garage entrance. His face tight. Captain, he said quietly. There are 2 little girls at the community center. The swim coach just called. They've been waiting. They're crying. Their father never showed. Reynolds felt his chest tighten, but his voice remained steady. Agent Vickers. My daughters are waiting for me. I've done nothing illegal. I've provided everything you asked for. I'm asking you, one parent to another, let me go. You should have cooperated from the beginning. Vickers said, I did cooperate. Reynolds replied, You violated protocol. At that moment, an unmarked SFPD vehicle entered the garage. A woman stepped out. Captain Maria Rodriguez. Special Victims Unit. Commanding officer. She walked straight toward Vickers. On what legal basis? She asked calmly. Are you detaining my sergeant? Vickers straightened when he saw the captain's bars on Rodriguez's collar. I'm conducting a federal investigation, he said, repeating the phrase like a shield, an investigation into what Captain Rodriguez asked. Her tone was calm, but it carried weight. Sergeant Reynolds is a U. Dashes. Citizen. Born in Oakland. You can verify that in your own database. What immigration violation are you investigating? I need to complete my process. Your process is unlawful detention. Rodriguez said, Release my sergeant. I don't take orders from SFPD. Rodriguez didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. You take orders from the Constitution. Release him. Now. Vickers didn't move. Rodriguez pulled out her phone. Then I'm calling your field office director, the ACLU, and every news station in the Bay Area. ICE detaining a decorated police sergeant for washing his car will be public in the next 10 minutes. She dialed and put the call on speaker. Director Brennan, she said. This is Captain Maria Rodriguez. SFPD. One of your agents is unlawfully detaining my sergeant. There was a pause. Then Brennan's voice hardened. Which agent? Brandon Vickers. Badge 8834. Put him on. Rodriguez handed the phone to Vickers. Agent Vickers. Brennan said, This is a direct order. Release Sergeant Reynolds immediately and return to the field office. Vickers tried to speak. Brennan cut him off. Now. At unsprezecha patruzech, she doi a. M. Vickers stepped back, said nothing, got into his vehicle, and drove away. 47 minutes after it began. It was over. Reynolds stood still for a moment. Agent Chen approached. Sergeant. I'm sorry. That should never have happened. Reynolds nodded. He didn't speak. He got into his car and drove to the community center. Emma and Sophie were sitting on a bench. Eyes red. Emma ran to him. Daddy. Where were you? I was stopped by someone who didn't follow the rules, he said softly. But I'm here now. That afternoon, the footage went viral. By Monday, ICE opened a formal investigation. Body cam reviewed. Patterns uncovered. Prior complaints ignored. The findings were clear: Fourth Amendment violations. Racial profiling. Abuse of authority. Recommendation termination. One assumption, one badge, one Saturday morning, and a career ended not because the law was unclear, but because it was ignored. If you believe no badge puts anyone above the Constitution, let us know in the comments.